Hi, Sakara lights. I'm gonna let everyone file in, but welcome to Sakara Sessions. We are so grateful to have you all joining us this evening. Please let us know where you're tuning in from today in the chat. I am tuning in from London today. Dr. Lee, Whitney, where are you guys chiming in from?
I'm in Massachusetts, outside of Boston.
Amazing.
And I'm today in Miami, Florida.
So, and here at Sakara, we are on a mission to transform lives, and community, connection, and education are such a critical piece of this. We know that living the Sakara life goes beyond just what you eat. It's multidisciplinary, as everything we read, listen to, absorb informs the way we move and take space in the world. With the Sakara community and our podcast, we're giving you the tools that empower you to be in the driver's seat of your own health, and turn your thoughts into things and your dreams into reality. If you have yet to join our Sakara community Slack channel, we invite you to do so you can continue to connect with us and other Sakara-lites around the country. We know you have all chosen to take this time out of your day to join us and are making the conscious choice to empower yourself to learn, grow, and most importantly, live your most vibrant life. We are honored to be building a community of joyful, curious, and inspired Sakara-lites who are on a mission to achieve their optimal health and vitality. Now, I'm so excited to welcome back Whitney Tingle, Sakara founder and CEO.
Thanks, Holly. Excited to be here tonight. Wow, we have such a great crowd joining in. We had over 2,400 people RSVP for this special event with Dr. William Lee from our Sakara Science Council. And I'm just so excited for you all to be here tonight. It's going to be an amazing conversation. First, I want to welcome you. If this is your first Sakara session or your first Sakara event, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. We've been doing these events for probably over close to 10 years now, which is incredible. They went from small events, meeting in person, sitting in circle with upwards of 15 or 20 people to now these events that we're doing where people are tuning in from all across the country. I'm reading comments here: Cleveland, Ohio, New York City, Albuquerque, San Diego, St. Louis, Arizona. I mean, all over the country. And one of the benefits of doing this virtually is that we also are having people tune in from all across the world, people who might not be able to sit with us in person, getting to join in. So I really do love that. And if this is one of your first Sakara events, welcome. Our mission at Sakara is really to put you in the driver's seat of your own health and give you the tools to do so. And those tools being our nutritionally designed meal programs, our different products, our snacks and supplements, but also the knowledge. You know, we do that in the form of our S Life Mag, our community, our Sakara Life podcast, and these sessions. These sessions are here to give you direct access to some of the top experts that we're speaking to every day. And tonight we have an amazing guest from our Sakara Science Council, which is a council that we put together to help us be sitting and having conversations with the people who are in the forefront of the most cutting edge nutrition science and research, to help us inform our programs and our products and the information that we're able to share with all of you. So if you're familiar with these events, then you know we like to start out by sharing our Sakara stories. And tonight, Danielle is not with us. You just have me, Whitney, one of the co-founders and co-CEOs. And so I feel that it's my job and duty to help share with you why Sakara is here, why we started, why we exist, and why we feel so passionately about this mission and being in service to this mission of supporting you all transform your lives through the power of food as medicine. So maybe some of you have heard this story before, but really, you know, Sakara didn't start out as the business. It started out as a solution to our own needs. Danielle and I were childhood friends. We grew up together in small town Sedona, Arizona. Maybe some of you have been there before, and so you get it. It's this small, hippie, spiritual town in northern Arizona, nestled in beautiful red rocks, and a really special place that has an energy to it. And people come there from all around the world in searching of healing, seeking healing in all different forms, energy healing and physical healing, and also nutritional healing. So really raised with this interesting upbringing, understanding the mind-body-food connection, and that nutrition and food have the power to support your body in its healing process. Fast forward, Danielle and I both found ourselves living in New York City, that fast-paced life, go, go, go. Danielle moved out to New York to study medicine. She was interning up at St. Luke's Hospital with a cardiologist, seeing patients with late stage lifestyle diseases like type 2 diabetes and heart disease. And I was working on Wall Street. I started my career at Merrill Lynch, being one of those people who was on track to probably need a cardiologist later in life. Not really taking care of myself, living that lifestyle that was all around me. A strong culture of drinking after work, going out drinking, grabbing whatever food was easy and convenient for me. I was so just stressed and tired from my work that I wasn't making the best choices. I had decision fatigue. And so at that point, I had put on a quick 15 pounds. I wasn't feeling good in my body. And the cystic acne that I'd been battling with since puberty really was at an all-time worst, just big red cysts all over my face. And I had tried everything out there, everything from acupuncture to Accutane and everything in between, and nothing worked. And I really had my, aha moment sitting in a dermatologist's chair on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, who, I probably paid way too much money for way too little time to sit there to have him hand me another prescription for another round of Accutane. And just my inner voice at this point, my gut, all my entire being was just screaming at me, don't do it. It's not the answer. You need to go inside and figure out what is the root cause, what is going on the inside that is creating these symptoms on your face. And so, Danielle, who had been a yo-yo dieter her whole life and was struggling with her own feelings around her body and body image, and had just been diagnosed herself with IBS, we found ourselves together in this rock bottom moment, needing a change, knowing that we couldn't continue living our lives in that same way. And she was seeing these patients who also, they needed that change. And she was feeling like she needed to be on the other side of medicine, helping people learn about ways to stay healthy and get healthy before it's to the point where you need surgery or pharmaceutical intervention. And so we came together really to just figure this out for ourselves. Danielle had changed her path to nutrition, and we used that information plus the information that we were raised with, some of these more ancient wisdom food philosophies, to put together a philosophy for ourselves. And that philosophy is now our Sakara Pillars of Nutrition, and the philosophy that is the foundation behind our nutrition programs. But for us, we just started making meals and eating it, and it completely changed our bodies and our lives. I mean, I just have chills thinking back to that moment right now. And in that moment, when, we had spent years trying to find solutions and not finding it, and then we found this thing that really worked, changing our lifestyle, changing our diet, changing the inputs that we put into our body physically and mentally. And we knew that we had to be on this mission. to help other people do the same, to discover the power of food as medicine and transform their own lives. And so here we are today. We've built an incredible team of people who are also on this mission with us and have expanded out our network to include the Science Advisory Council, including Dr. William Lee, who we are so excited to have with us chatting tonight. Welcome, Dr. Lee. I'm going to read your bio here because you are just an incredible person and such an impressive background. You are the internationally renowned physician, scientist, and author of the New York Times bestseller, Eat to Beat Disease, The New Science of How Your Body Can Heal Itself. His groundbreaking work has led to the development of more than 30 new medical treatments and impact care for more than 70 diseases, including cancer, diabetes, blindness, heart disease, and obesity. His TED Talk, Can We Eat to Starve Cancer, has gained more than 11 million views. And Dr. Lee has appeared on Good Morning America, CNN, CNBC, Live with Kelly and Ryan, Rachel Ray, The Dr. Oz Show. You've been featured on USA Today, in Time Magazine, The Atlantic O Magazine, and now Sakara Sessions, which I think belongs on the same type of level of all of those other ones that we just mentioned. And you're also the president and medical director of the Angiogenesis Foundation, and are leading the research into COVID-19 over at Harvard. So, just such a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for being part of this council with us and for, sharing your wisdom tonight. As I know, we're excited to talk about the latest topic of your research, which is a hot topic for all of our clients, metabolism. So welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Whitney. It's a real pleasure to be on tonight with the Sakara community. And I have to say, it's really an honor to be an advisor to Sakara, along with these other amazing people that you have. So thanks for having me on. And I'm looking forward to talking about metabolism because it matters to everyone.
It absolutely does. And so I feel like we can just dive on in and let's talk metabolism. The topic of this session is Metabolism 101. So let's start at the beginning. What is the metabolism and why should we care about it?
So I think the idea of metabolism level sets everyone because we all need a good metabolism. And as we'll get into a little bit later, we all actually have what we need for a good metabolism inside us. But what is metabolism? Well, metabolism is very simple. It's really our body's use of energy. And if you think about our body as sort of the chassis of a vehicle, vehicles need energy in order to be able to drive in the same way that we actually need fuel, our energy, in order to be able to move our bodies around. I mean, even to stand still, to exist, we need energy. And the way that we get energy is that we actually eat food, and hopefully good food. I know you guys make a big effort at Sakara to be able to provide your community this, but these are all decisions that we actually make. What we put into our mouth is kind of like going to the filling station and choosing which type of fuel you're actually putting into your car, right? There's the low, medium, and high grade. And actually that kind of philosophy tells us something about metabolism because we're actually fueling ourselves up.
Wow. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way so clearly with your comparison to the gas tank and how, we make choices all the time when we go to the gas tank, what level, what grade of gas you want to put in your tank. And, if you drive a luxury vehicle, they tell you that you have to choose the premium so that it helps your car function better. It keeps your pipes clean. And you're saying that it's similar to that when it comes to food and what you're putting into your body.
Yeah. And, by the same token, how much we fill our tanks and when we fill our tanks and how much we have to fill each time also makes a difference because energy in gives us the energy to actually use putting out. And imagine, I'll give you guys a really simple example of about why the amount matters. You know, when you're filling up your vehicle with gasoline or with fuel, you put it in there and you hit the switch, and it runs and it fills it up. And fortunately, you know, you don't have to worry too much about it. It's almost kind of like foolproof. When the tank is filled, it clicks off, and that's it. And then you put it back, and you're done. You got a full tank. Now, our bodies actually are not quite so simple-minded. We can actually continue to fill that tank. And so there's no automatic clicker. So what happens, imagine in the gas station, if you didn't have that clicker, that's sort of sitting in front of your food and keeping on filling your tank. What would happen if your tank was full in your car, but you kept on filling the gas up? What would happen is that it would overflow, run down to your tires, around your shoes, and then you would have this explosive danger around you. And that's really what happens to our metabolism as well when we overload. I mean, using the right fuel, the best fuel, to be able to run the longest is one decision set. The other one is actually, you know, when do you actually stop filling your tank? Do you want it to run down the sides and get all over the ground and become a danger, or not? So I like to use this analogy because I think everybody kind of understands what we're talking about.
No, I love this. It's really helping to paint the picture and take something kind of that's feels a bit esoteric. Even the word metabolism, you're like, what exactly is that? And helps to start put a visualization to it and make it relatable. So, okay, so at its simplest form, our metabolism is how we convert food into energy for our bodies. And you're saying we all need energy. I think a lot of people, when they think about metabolism, the first thing that comes to mind is really, you know, your weight, that it controls how much weight you're going to gain, or if you're going to be able to lose weight, that it's really kind of this thing in control of just your waistline. But, you know, along with that, there are so many different misconceptions around metabolism and kind of some myths around metabolism. Can you tell us what some of those myths are, and can we bust some of those myths right now?
Yeah, sure, Whitney. This is such a important topic for us to have. You know, so I'm a physician, internal medicine, but I'm also a researcher, a scientific researcher. I'm what they call a vascular biologist. I've been doing it for more than 30 years. And I've also been involved with, as you mentioned in the introduction, developing biotech treatments for serious diseases like cancer. So for me, the science is something that I really focus on. And because I focus on the science, I try and what science does is clear up misconceptions. You know, we used to think the earth was flat. We used to think that, atmospheric things were messages from, the heavens. And now we actually kind of know differently. And so here's what I want to tell you about the M word, metabolism. Turns out metabolism shares that M with myth. So it's time to really break it down and give you some clarity based on science. All right. And this, by the way, is brand smoking hot new science. It's only been around for about 12 months. So about this time last year, there was some amazing data that came out that revealed what human metabolism always actually is. So how many of you guys that are watching have heard this idea that you're born with either a slow metabolism or a fast metabolism? So, you hear the whole thing. My sister was so lucky. She was born with a fast metabolism. That's why she can eat anything and she's skinny as a stick. And me, unfortunately, I got the short end of the stick. My metabolism is slow, and that's why I've been struggling with my weight my whole life. Right? Okay. So I can see in the chat, everybody is going, yeah, that's...
Danielle's mother, she would say, I just look at a cracker and I'll gain weight. I have such a slow metabolism.
Right. Okay. So let me tell you what we've discovered that actually completely upends that, because it's actually not true. Okay. Here's what's actually true. We now know that the human body, every single one, everybody watching this session has the exact same intrinsic metabolism. We are all born with exactly the same thing. And we all have the potential to live our whole lives with the exact same metabolism. That's you, Whitney, and me,
Wow.
and everyone else. Now, here's how we figured this out. And I'll give you the punchline at the very end of why people have different metabolisms, that some of them are actually knocked off kilter. But here's the thing. There was a research study that was led by a group at Duke University that looked at 6,000 human beings over 20 countries, men and women, young and old, from 2 days old, little baby, to a 90-plus-year-old person. That's the entire human lifespan. And they wanted to ask, what if we studied all these people at different stages in their life using the exact same technique? All right, this is a scientific technique. So what they did is they gave them a drink of water. It's called deuterated water. It's not radioactive, but you can measure the hydrogen and the oxygen in your breath, in your pee. So you would actually, in your blood, so you actually can measure exactly how your body was using its energy. And here's what they found when they did this. They got all the data from 6,000 people from 2 days old to 90-some years old. And it was, as you might expect, all over the map. All these people had metabolisms everywhere, right? Okay, so that's not really the cool part. The breakthrough came when this research group developed an algorithm to say, all right, it looks confusing, but what happens if we subtract from the signal, the results, the contribution of excess body fat? What happens when we remove body fat from the equation? And guess what? When they did that, out of this confusion, cloud of confusion, came only 4 patterns. Everyone had the exact same pattern at different points in their life. So here it is. When we're born, we crawled out of our mom's womb. We pretty much have a similar metabolism to our mom. It's kind of like synchronizing menstrual cycles. We're all about the same, right? Makes total sense. Now, from 0 to 1, our metabolism shoots sky high, 50% higher than that of an adult, all right? And this is why babies have to really be fed consciously, mindfully, healthy food, because their metabolism is soaring. They're absorbing as much energy as they can. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is from 1 year old to 20 years old, 1 year old to 20 year old. Metabolism starts to come down from that super height. Now, this is during puberty. Even when the kids are rocketing up like bean stalks, their metabolism is slowing down. That's a big surprise. And when they hit, and that's the second phase. Even though they're eating 2 dinners and they're exercising, they're full of energy, their metabolism is slowing down. At 8, it's the second phase. Third phase is from age 20 to age 60. All right. Although our adult life, our metabolism is designed to be rock stable, not changing at all. And I'm talking about your first job, your first apartment, your marriage, your pregnancy, your menopause. It's all designed to be exactly the same. All right. 20 to 60, big surprise. And then at age 60, it starts to decline slowly, all the way to your 90 years old. When you're 90, your metabolism is still 17% decreased from what you were when your metabolism should have been when you're age 20. That's the fourth phase. Wow. All right. Now, this is how we're hardwired as human beings. So then when they started to put the contribution of fat back into the equation, guess what? They found that that metabolism doesn't cause you to gain weight and get fat, but when you add fat onto your body, it squashes and sits down on your metabolism. And so it's completely the opposite. It's not that your metabolism is your destiny of gaining weight and building body fat. It's that building extra body fat sits on your metabolism, completely the opposite. And the good news there is that means that we can't change our genetics, but what it means is that we can actually change and address excess body fat. And that's how we come full circle into how to manage our metabolism.
Oh my gosh, that's mind-blowing. I never knew that. And just incredible information. It's interesting how new research, we're just learning so much, especially in this world of health, the body, nutrition. So yeah, thank you for teaching us about that interesting research. So
yeah, this is completely rewritten, the textbook on human metabolism, and you guys are hearing about this tonight. If you're not reading scientific journals, you might not have actually heard about this for a long time, but this is one of the advantages, for the work that we're doing together on Sakara, Whitney, is that I'm sharing this like smoking hot information with you guys.
Right. And so you're saying if you want to change your metabolism, then it's about reducing that excess body weight that you're carrying, that the excess
Right.
body fat.
And it's not
But
change.
people
It's
think that you need to increase your metabolism to get rid of the body fat. And so it
the other way
feels,
around. It's the other way around. What you want to do is you want to actually make good decisions that will actually reduce the amount of extra body fat, not regular body fat, but extra body fat. And then it's not about changing your metabolism. I would actually encourage you guys to think about this. It's unleashing your inner metabolism. It's optimizing who you can be and who your body wants you to be. And that actually puts the control in your own hands.
yeah, it's stoking that inner fire, right?
Precisely.
Inside of you already. Okay, I love that. Do you have any other myths that you want to cover tonight? What else have you been hearing about?
Well, okay. So here's a typical idea, right? So, and I'm sure everybody who's watching this has had the same experience as me. You take a shower in the morning, you step out of the shower, and out of the corner of your eye, you see the mirror, right? And you see shapes and lumps and bumps. I mean, even if you're not a huge person, that don't belong there. And this happens to all of us as we get older. And then what do you do next? And so then you're like, oh man, that's like got body fat. And then what do you do next? You step on the scale and you're looking at a number. So you have two images right from the get-go every single day that there's something on your body that is an appearance that you don't like. And then you fixate on a number on a scale. That's sort of this idea about body fat, metabolism, behavior, and it winds up actually really kind of shifting our focus into a very negative kind of self-image where body fat is bad. We must destroy body fat. And then what happens next is that people start reaching for extreme diets, right? And these extreme diets are impossible to maintain. And they're usually not really pleasant to actually follow. So you fall off the wagon, okay?
Yeah.
So here's the thing that like a myth I want to clear up. Body fat, the right amount, is a natural part of our of us as humans, right? Because think about it. When you're, and body fat is not necessarily bad. Think about it. A baby is pudgy and cute and has got all those little rolls around the hands and around the belly and under the chin. And in fact, if you saw an ultra skinny svelte baby, it would be scary. You'd think there's something wrong, right? And so we need that kind of body fat. And frankly, when you're children, like all little kids, 6 and 7 year olds, they all look the same. Boys and girls are kind of just they're sticks or they're logs. And what happens is that the beauty of the body unfolds as we get into puberty. I mentioned this earlier, and throughout our adulthood, we actually develop our shapes. Both men and women develop their classic shapes as a result of being body sculpted by our body fat. So body fat is a good thing. Our fat actually is an organ that releases hormones that allow us to actually feel good, make good decisions, manage our energy levels. It's really the fuel tank that we mentioned earlier, because when you're eating, whatever you're not using right away from an energy perspective gets stored, that extra gasoline gets stored in fat cells. That's our fuel tank. So fat isn't bad. The natural fat, some fat is actually good. Second is that the other reason that fat's not bad is that there's 3 kinds of fat at least. The bad kind that you see in the mirror that you don't want around actually is called white fat. And there's a particular kind of white fat called visceral fat that you can't see. The most harmful kind of fat is not something you can appreciate in the mirror. It is called visceral fat, viscera meaning like inside your guts. And it's fat that is stuffed inside even a skinny person's frame. If you're 5'7", 110 pounds, you could still have a lot of harmful fat packed inside. Think about peanuts that you stuff into a FedEx box, that you're mailing something thin. Okay, you could overstuff that thing with the peanuts, tape it up, and it's packed, loaded with these peanuts, but the box is still thin. All right. Now, and of course, if you're bigger, you can actually do that as well. So the idea is that that's really the harmful fat. It causes inflammation, increases your risk of diabetes, increases your risk of cancer for women, breast cancer, endometrial cancer, ovarian cancer, increases your risk. And this is what we call skinny fat. Now, there is bad fat, but there's also a hero kind of fat, and that hero kind of fat is called brown fat. And brown fat is not warbly, and it's not mounds, and you can't see it. Brown fat is around your neck, underneath your pectoral girdle, under your arms, behind your back, a little bit in your belly, and it's a space heater. And depending on what you do, the kinds of foods you eat, you can activate the space heater fat, brown fat, which fires up like a gas range. Okay, so the foods you eat can be like the lighter that you click to light up your gas stove, and the energy, the gas it uses to ignite that flame to generate heat that you would use for cooking, okay, actually comes from bad fat. So good fat can burn down bad fat. And that's another myth, is that the only thing that you can do to lose weight and fight your body fat is actually not eat. That's true. I mean, if you're Tom Hanks in Castaway and you're on an island, you're going to lose weight, but there are actually foods that you can eat that will activate your brown fat to burn down your white fat, which is really the amazing thing.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because this was some of the research that we used and were really interested in order to create our metabolism suite of products, our metabolism super powder and our metabolism bar. And there's an ingredient, this fucoxanthin, that contains a type of brown seaweed in it, that helps activate that brown fat. It helps to shift white fat into brown fat and make it that activated kind of fat, so that, it can be that engine that you're talking about, that energy source. And I know that this is an ingredient you've studied as well.
Well, listen, I mean, I'm so excited that you mentioned that, because in parts of Europe and in Asia, people actually eat seaweed as part of their diet, but usually in the United States, we don't see too much seaweed. So I actually started to do research into this, and absolutely, there's brown seaweed, there's wakame, there's different kinds of seaweed. If you go to a Japanese restaurant and you get a bowl of miso soup, right, and then you've got that little dark colored square piece that's in there. It's a little chewy, like it's like a vegan kind of thing. Actually, that's seaweed, and it contains natural chemicals like a lot of plant-based foods have. And fucoxanthin is one of those natural chemicals that does actually light up your brown fat and starts to burn down your white fat. And in fact, what I do in my next book that's going to be coming out in the spring, I write about 150 foods, including seaweed, different kinds of seaweed, including the brown seaweed, that actually all have this ability to be able to light up our inner metabolism so that we can actually burn down the bad fat, unleash our inner metabolism, and to be overall healthier so we can all get to our next level.
Yeah. And is there a type of seaweed that you recommend including into your diet? People can get it within our metabolism bars or in our metabolism super powder. Is there any other type that you would recommend eating?
Most edible seaweeds actually have a variety of different natural properties that can actually, there's phycocyanin, there's fucoxanthin, there's a bunch of really, really cool, Mother Nature's pharmacy, I say pharmacy with an F, not a PH, that actually can light up our body in all kinds of different ways. Also activates our health defenses. So it helps our body shield itself. And here's the thing, when it comes to food and health and your metabolism, it's not just about the food, it's about how our body responds to what we put inside it. And that's where, I get to do the heavy lifting on the science part of it. But really, what everybody needs to know is that there are foods, a lot of them are plant-based foods, but not exclusively so, that actually will have these natural substances. Seaweeds, and most edible seaweeds are going to be good for you. So, I'll just list a couple of types of seaweeds that I know people will recognize that have been studied. So, Japanese seaweed salad, the green stuff, okay, actually starts out as kind of a brownish substance, but when it's steamed and cooked, the chemicals actually change. The steam changes the chemicals, and what's left is chlorophyll, which is bright green, which is why you actually have that. It's not artificial coloring, that's natural coloring. And that can actually burn down fat. The stuff in the bowl of miso soup also actually has fat fighting, metabolism activating substances. And if you like maki rolls, that the wrapping around that paper-like wrapping, by the way, that paper-like wrapping came from the Japanese paper making traditional art. That's how they used to make books. And they actually decided to adapt that to make food by using seaweed. I mean, think about it. You go to the beach and the seaweed's like a stringy thing. Nobody really wants to eat it like that, but they decided to make it really artful and make it into paper. And then you can roll it into the maki. That's also good for you.
I love that. We actually use seaweed. We grind it up into a powder and put it into as a seasoning on top of some of our meals, including one that was on our menu this week, our Japanese medley bowl, which has lots of different, colors of ingredients, lots of, a large diversity of ingredients in there, and then has this sprinkle on top. So boosting the nutrient density of that meal and helping to boost your metabolism while adding flavor.
Exactly. I mean, that's just one of the ingredients, but it's one that's actually worth people knowing about because it's not a common one. And so that's what I love about how you guys are thinking about your creative and delicious ways of approaching, because everything should be delicious. That's the key thing, I mean, and that's why I call my next book, which I have a mock-up here, by the way, if anybody wants to see it.
Yeah,
This is like a preview for you guys. Eat to Beat Your Diet. This is not a diet book. It's an anti-diet book, actually, because it shows if you really want to light your metabolism up, you want to burn your body fat down, you want to be healthier, you don't need to go on a diet. You can lean into the healthy types of foods that you've been discussing in order to be able to get there, make progress there.
Yes, and a great plug for your book. You can pre-order that one now. I can't wait for it to come out. And to list out some of those 150 foods that you mentioned. So would love to talk more about that. What are some of the other foods that you recommend for, revving that inner fire and getting your metabolism going?
Yeah, I'll just kind of rattle out a couple of things that taste good that I know that actually have been on your ingredient list. Avocados, for example. Avocados have a lot of dietary fiber. They have bioactives that activate your fat burning process. And also they have heart healthy fats, monounsaturated fatty acids or MUFAs. That's really good. Beans. Turns out that beans actually are really good for you. These legumes, right? So, and here's another kind of joy of the research that tells us what's good for our metabolism. You don't have to go for only the high-end type of white bean. You might have a cassoulet in France or whatever. You can actually go to the middle aisle, right? We're told to stay out of the middle aisle. Actually, there's treasure in the middle aisle. You just need to know what's fool's gold from what's real gold. All right. And so that's what I navigate people through. So even a can of white beans, okay, like cannelli beans, for example, cannellini beans. Yeah, that can actually have dietary fiber that has been studied at the University of Toronto. If you eat a cup of that over the course of the week for 5 days a week, it'll actually shrink your waist size. And the reason it does that is it gets rid of some of that harmful packing peanut, harmful visceral fat, and actually and it unleashes your metabolism. And so again, beans are another kind of food that are actually really good for you. Tomatoes have a carotenoid called lycopene that actually is really, really good to activate. By the way, when you eat a tomato, which lycopene also is found in watermelon, it also makes watermelon red. Classic summer fruit, right? You can. Right. So by the way, when you have lycopene, can you guess where it actually goes in your body? So when you eat it, it's going to go into your stomach, you're going to absorb into your bloodstream. Where does it hang out? Where does it do its fat burning job, do you think?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where.
So this has been studied at Tufts University. They actually gave people lycopene and they analyzed by biopsying people's bodies for their fat where it goes. The lycopene immediately, like a homing missile, goes into your fat where it then does its work to burn it down. Okay.
Wow.
And where does it go first? It goes into around your belly. Where does it go next? It goes around to your butt. Then where does it go next? It goes into your thighs. And so again, this has been scientifically studied. Tomato, watermelon, those are great. Some of the great foods as well. Omega-3s are another source, which you can actually get in seafood.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a good reminder for people. I think that sometimes we can hear these individual foods and hear, okay, lycopene and watermelon, it's gonna burn belly fat and fat from my butt, and then go crazy with it. And I think that we're talking about these ingredients to shed light on just the amazing health benefits of food. And, at Sakara, we are big believers in supporting the body with natural, organic, plant-based ingredients. We don't believe you have to be a vegan, be healthy, but that you need plants into your body to be healthy. That we're not focused on what you're not eating or what not to eat. We're focused on what are you getting into your system to support your body's natural processes and how to help it function at its best. So getting in these types of ingredients like the tomatoes, like the watermelon, like the avocado, like the seaweed, so that you're getting those things and your body can use it to optimize its health. But not to say that it's just one secret, silver bullet that it's going to do that for you. It's about creating a healthy diet inclusive of all of these incredible foods, right? And
And it's got to taste great. That's the key thing.
and it's got to
You,
taste great. I
and
agree.
you got to choose the foods that you enjoy because everyone is a little bit different. Some people might not like tomatoes or some, everyone is going to react a little bit differently. And that's why I think that it's important for people to understand that the science is showing that there is abundance in the garden and in the produce section, the farmer's market, that where you can actually pick out these plant-based foods that actually will light up our body's health defenses, light up our metabolism, and you can choose the ones that you want to actually eat. And by the way, in addition to these incredible creations that you guys produce as part of your meal plan, I always tell people if you see an ingredient that is beneficial and you want to know how to actually cook it yourself, don't be afraid to just remember it. Next time you see it on a restaurant menu, try it. Or if you're not really sure, if you're adventurous, take that ingredient, enter it into a Google search with recipe, and then actually click on video for the results. And then you'll watch somebody cook it for you. And so really, it's really easy to find new ways, new foods to explore and new ways to cook the ones that you already know.
Yeah, I love that. And plug for the Sakara Life Cookbook, Eat Clean, Play Dirty, which has lots of unique ingredients. So if you want to learn about ingredients, if you're feeling adventurous, definitely check that out. Okay, so we've talked about foods that can support metabolism. What else should people be doing to support their metabolism?
Yeah, well, listen, there's a lot of important things that you can actually do to support your metabolism. Food isn't eating the right things is not the only decision. Not overeating or eating just the right amount so that you don't overflow your tank actually
Yeah.
is really important. That's an important decision. And then the other thing is, it's all about energy, right? And so you do want to actually stay physically active. That's really quite important to be able to actually burn down, let your body kind of start, cleaning the pipes as you talked about, to be able to, you want to get on that highway, you want to get in a fast lane every now and then. So you're really making your engine work. That's also exercising your metabolism. It's not just looking better and having definition for your muscles. That's part of it. But also you just want that inner engine to actually be clean as well. And then I
I
think the other
see
thing,
this. I see this actually with my son Bodhi. He has type 1 diabetes, an autoimmune condition that affects his blood sugar. His body doesn't produce insulin. And so we have a continuous glucose monitor on him, a Dexcom, that watches his blood sugar 24 hours a day, every day. And so I get to see a look into what is happening with his blood sugar inside of his body all the time. And what I see is that when he's exercising and getting just more exercise into his day, not only does it affect his uh, insulin sensitivity and his ability to keep stable blood sugars during that time of exercise when he's using the glucose more, but also throughout the rest of the day. And so I'm a big believer in, even if it's just getting outside and walking for 20 minutes, taking a call as you're, from outside instead of sitting at your desk, that just that little bit can really affect your health and your body's ability to, you know, regulate your glucose levels, which is essential to overall health and body weight.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about just movement in general. I mean, there's something beautiful about the human body in motion. This is why dance is so mesmerizing to look at, while sports, is actually so amazing to actually watch. I think somehow in our primitive brain, we were wired to actually admire movement of the human body. And so you don't have to be a ballet dancer or a Olympian to actually be able to keep your body moving. Even walking after dinner, or playing around. And actually, as I write about in my next book, studies have even been done that even fidgeting burns calories. The people that
I
tap in
just
their
saw
knee.
this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that actually helps to burn some calories. So what you don't want to do is just sit there like a mummy in a sarcophagus for the next 10,000 years. That's actually not burning anything.
Yes. Amazing. So, okay, watching, getting those healthy plant-based foods into your diet, making sure that you're not overflowing your tank,
Mhm.
making sure that you're getting exercise into your day, that movement, whether it's dance or sports or going for a walk. Is there anything else that we should be conscious of when it comes to
Yeah.
metabolism?
There are so many subtle things that can actually help our metabolism. Eating the right foods, not eating the wrong foods. Because, one of the things that even though
Yes.
I think you and I both and Danielle all are on the same page, let's focus on what to add more than, focusing on the negative aspects of what to subtract. Adding good stuff that tastes great, really that gets people's attention. But I will say that, things that are uh, ultra processed, too much alcohol, adding excessive saturated fats, all those things, artificial sweeteners.
Hmm.
A lot of people think that they're benefiting their metabolism by having non-nutritive sweeteners that have 0 calories. But you know what happens? Those artificial sweeteners actually are chemicals that when you swallow them, okay, it's not going to raise your blood glucose, but you know what's going to do? It's going to poison your gut microbiome. The bacteria, the healthy gut bacteria that are part of our bacteria, really doesn't like our artificial sweeteners. And actually, because our gut bacteria control our metabolism, as a result, people who eat too many artificial sweeteners, their blood glucose actually goes up and their weight actually goes up. And so it's completely the counter of what you'd expect, but the science has it make sense. One of the things that there's so much about metabolism. One of the things that I'm super, I'm so overflowing with this information that one of the things I wanted to do is to start teaching people about it. I've got this metabolism mini course that where I actually start to give people these practical tips. It's not a diet. It's really about arming yourself with that information. So, one of the things that I love doing is getting this information out to people. And I'm just now starting because I used to teach in medical school, and I realized that the people who need it the most, besides doctors, are actually people that just want to learn. And that's what I've been doing is teaching through this metabolism mini course. There's so much great information that people can put into their lives.
I love it. I think it's so important for us all to be learning about our bodies, about what we can do to support our health. I mean, we really haven't had this amount of time is so short to get into all of those details. So I'm excited to be that your book is coming out and that I'm going to be able to dig into it and learn more. We just launched our a set of new systems, Sakara systems. And one of those systems is the Sakara Metabolic Reset System. And it is actually one of our best-selling systems. I think everybody is very excited about metabolism and wanting to make sure that they're setting their bodies up to unleash that inner fire that we were talking about. And, one of the ways that we do this is by nourishing the body, by giving it the nutrients that it needs, the right amount, so we're not overflowing your tank, but giving you the material so that your body can function at its best, really going and nourishing your gut microbiome. That's one that we've touched on a little bit tonight, but I mean, that's a whole other topic
Whole topic.
in itself right there. And allowing yourself also to tune into what our bodies are telling us, starting to get the messages, listening to those signals, developing what we call body intelligence, so that when our bodies are telling us we're hungry, we eat, and that when they're telling us we're full, that we've had enough, that we can tune into the cravings, because our bodies will be craving the right foods, and toning down the cravings for foods that maybe we shouldn't be eating so much of. So I'd love your thoughts. What do you think about this new system that we launched? Does it fall in line with everything you've been talking about? Obviously, you're on our Sakara Council, so we look to you and gather a lot of insights that go into our programs, but would love to hear your feedback.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything's in the right direction, and I think what I love is that you're actually making it easy for people to take steps, actions that can actually help their metabolism. And again, metabolism is quite complicated. We started by talking about energy and using the analogy of pulling up fuel. That's what I teach about in my mini course on metabolism that I hope people will be willing to sign up for, because there's a lot more depth to this, and and then to know that you can get the metabolism reset, but there's also stuff that comes along with my mini course, like programs and recipes and things like that you could actually attach to it. But I think the key thing is this: we can all make very simple decisions by listening to our bodies. By the way, the medical term is called interoception. Perception is actually what we see from the outside world, right? We're perceiving what the outside, what side is. Interoception is what it sounds like. It's perception of our inside, interoception, and it's our brain listening to how our body feels. And I think that's one of the things that what you were just talking about at Sakara you're trying to do, is to get people more in touch with how they're feeling on the inside. And that's really something that I also teach in my metabolism mini course.
Amazing. Yeah, I think it's about helping people become more aware of their own body signals. That's, when I talk about sitting in the driver's seat of your own health, that is one of the key skills that you have to develop to sit in that driver's seat, that you're not just relying on, on a nutrition label, which I feel is a bit antiquated, to tell you if something is healthy for you or not, but you're looking at ingredients, but you're also listening to how something feels in your body. And so, that's a big piece of it. And then also stripping away, some of the foods that go into your diet sometimes that can hijack those signals, those natural communication pathways that food is communicating to you. There's an interesting article was written in the New York Times a number of years ago about the science of junk food, and how millions of dollars have gone into creating these processed foods to make sure that it hits that bliss point in your brain, making it feel good, taste good, just almost like drugs, where it's just so good that you want to keep eating more. And then the other signals that tell you, stop eating, have been hijacked. So you just keep going and going.
Yeah.
And so
well,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is what, we're talking about this evening, is how do we actually get back to basics of what our body needs, and how do we pay attention to it? Because there's, that's the signal to the noise that's out there. right? The noise that's out there is marketing, messaging, sampling. And as you say, the samples are cleverly designed to activate sort of like the desire aspects of our body. I'm sure, we're not trying to badmouth any particular food products, but all of us know that there are some junky foods that, if I were to give out a name, everybody would say, oh yeah, I love that. Okay. But that's designed for you to taste once it's in your mouth, but to make you have that decision to put it in your mouth. It's all marketing. It's what you see in television. It's what you hear about. And so that's where I think that, what we're talking about this evening and this opportunity for the people watching is really to provide a little bit of counterweight, because we're not marketing anything. What we're really talking about is how the body works.
Yeah. And I think also that people don't need to be afraid of those types of foods, but that when you have it in that balance, when you have the counterbalance of the natural foods from the earth that is sending the good information to your body, then it won't be overcome by the information that you're getting from some of these, junkier types of foods. And that your body actually handle when you have, are eating those foods in a better way.
And by the way, we did mention this, so I want to actually throw it out again. All of us, we know that our gut bacteria, which is a whole topic in and of itself, helps to control our metabolism. And we know that when we eat certain foods, we feel bloated and gassy and uncomfortable afterwards. And so when, and we've all, if you've grown up on planet Earth, you've experienced this in modern society where you just don't feel so good in your gut. Well, that's your bacteria having a riot. Okay. And it's having a riot because it's been fed things that aren't good for it. And that actually knocks your metabolism off of whack. And so the key is actually to get back into your body's natural balance by eating more natural foods, allowing what's inside you hardwired to become unleashed. And that's really how we heal our metabolism.
I love that. I think that is such a great place for us to end. I think I can ask Holly, do we have time for a couple questions? Let us know. Yes. Okay. Holly says yes. So let's dive in. We sourced some questions from you all, from our Sakara community Slack channel, which, as Holly mentioned before, if you're not part of that channel, definitely sign up, jump in. We want to invite you to join. I'm just pulling up these questions right now. I thought I had it here. Holly, do you have those questions handy? Great.
Okay, so question, let me go ahead and drop them for you. Question 3. So what should we look for to know if our metabolism is healthy or not? Are there some common symptoms of a metabolism that isn't working as it should be?
It's a great question. I think, and it's kind of obvious if you really think about it, of your metabolism and energy and fuel. What happens when you don't have enough energy and your fuel runs low? You feel tired. You feel wiped out. You feel fatigued. And, so many of us blame our work and stress for fatigue, and they may actually be part of it, but actually, and not enough sleep, but actually it's also part of the inefficient use of our fuel. Like if you put and also it could be that you're not eating really good food. If you put the really crappy gas, and I'm not talking about like just even the lowest number at the gas station. If you put the moonshine into your gas tank, it'll sputter and it won't be right. And you're not going to feel, your car's not going to have that energy that you're expecting it to. So I think fatigue is actually one of them. We talked a little about bloating and gassiness. The other thing is brain fog. You need really good energy to, one of the organs that needs the most energy, even when we're sleeping, is our brain. Okay. So our brain is really, really sensitive to energy. When you feel not only physically fatigued, but you feel brain fog, you got to know that's probably your body sending signals back to what Whitney was talking about, listen to your body. That's a signal that you need to sort of start to heal your metabolism to get back to who you want to be.
Yeah. And so I want to touch on this gassy and bloaty feeling for 1 second, because I'm getting pinged with some messages about broccoli and cauliflower. So it sounds like broccoli and cauliflower for some people can create gas and bloating. And I know after, having seen thousands and thousands of people come through Sakara and live the Sakara life and do our nutrition programs, which contain sulfur-rich vegetables, contain cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower. And, these meals just have such an abundance of plants in them that people coming from a lifestyle of not eating quite as many plants, they can feel some bloating and discomfort early on as their gut microbiome changes, as it gets used to eating as much plant fiber are in these meals. And so my advice is usually one, well, you want to make sure that it's organic, because I've found that when I eat non-organic in foods, that especially like dirty dozen foods, that can cause gas and discomfort. Um, but also maybe to go a bit slow, to ease into it and build it up like you're taking it to the gym, that you don't want to steer clear of really healthy plants because you're feeling a little discomfort, but build up to it just the same way that you wouldn't steer clear of maybe lifting a heavier weight because it was heavier for you, but to build up those muscles.
Well, I'll also tell you, I would just pitch into and just tell you something really practical. This is something a lot of people might not recognize they do, but people who are not normally eating plants and maybe not normally eating broccoli and those cruciferous vegetables, when they suddenly start eating them, they may not be used to eating them. And so one of the really common reasons of feeling gassy and bloated, for especially foods like the green vegetables that your mom told you to eat, is people are eating them and swallowing a lot of air along with it. And when you swallow air, you might burp, but if you don't burp that air up, where does it go? It just gets pushed further and further and further down. So in addition to the rehab of the neighborhood of the gut bacteria that Whitney was just talking about, the other thing is that if you're, just kind of whipping down that broccoli, because you think it's good for you and you're swallowing some of that air, you're also going to actually be putting air down there as your neighborhood, your gut bacteria is being rehabbed to be a better neighborhood. And then what winds up happening is you feel bloaty as well. So again, these are lots of different things that, and by the way, if you feel like the whole broccoli, how do you get around this if you still want to have it? Make a broccoli soup, make a smoothie and sip it. Don't gulp it and don't wolf your food. In general, people wolf their food. They actually feel kind of bloaty.
Great. Next question, Holly.
Yeah, so I think we have time for one more question. We had so many, but wanted to
so many questions.
So many good ones too. But Whitney, would love to hear your perspective. So a client, Melanie from San Diego, asked, I would suspect that many people could benefit from more than one of the systems you are now offering. Would you suggest any specific order if you are planning to complete more than one?
I think it depends on what your personal needs are and what you're looking to achieve. Our systems are set up where you can do, one and then the next, and you'll get so much benefit from doing the different systems. You get a guidebook along with each system. And so not only are you going to be nourishing your body deeply and starting to learn more about living the Sakara life, but you get those more targeted guides to help teach you about each area of the system. So you're going to be learning about metabolism, you're going to be learning about gut health, you're going to be learning about our stance on cleansing, you're going to be learning about how to eat for performance, including, minimizing brain fog and optimizing your body's potential so that you can be your best at work or an athlete or wherever you are that type of athlete. So I think you lean into which one speaks to you the most. But if you are wanting to do more than one, definitely jump in. You don't need to do them in any type of specific order. Go with what your body and your gut is telling you to do.
This was such an amazing conversation, and I know there was so much going on in the chat. Our community loved it.
Yeah, Dr. Lee, people are asking, where can they learn more information about you? Where can they find you?
Oh, well, I'm always overflowing with lots of information that I want people to know about. Please sign up on my website for my newsletter, drwilliamlee.com, drwilliamlee.com. And again, if you can sign up for my newsletter, I've got this metabolism mini course. And then for people who really, really want to do a deep dive, I also do an online course that's a month long. But listen, just come on board and let us actually start sharing information with one another. And Whitney, thank you so much, and Holly, for inviting me to come on to have this conversation.
Yeah, people can also listen to our Sakara Life podcast that we did earlier this year. And you can learn more about Sakara at sakara.com. You can find me on Instagram at Whitney Tingle, at Sakara Life, and Danielle at Danielle Dubois. We'd always love to hear from you. And we can't wait for the next one. Dr. Lee, thank you again. I learned so much tonight. You blew my mind. I can't wait. We're going to have to do more of these. I feel like this was 101. We're going to need to do the next one and dig a little deeper. So congrats again on your new book. Can't wait for it to come out, and looking forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.